Hi, well it's St Valentine's Day 2008 and it's time for a ghost story. I haven't had one for a couple of days, have we? Now the year is 1980. I'm 21 years of age and I'm on a ward called Tryfan Ward at the North Wales Hospital, and it's right in the centre of the hospital, and you hear some awful sounds working on that ward, I can tell you. Most of which are human, but some pretty ghostly. And I've been concerned ever since I walked onto the ward. The very first time I ever walked onto that ward, and I was like 12 months into a 18-month stay there. And I was particularly concerned about the kitchen area, which, to all intents and purposes, as far as I was concerned, was haunted. It was the most haunted place in the hospital. I would hear the rattling of cutlery, cups being moving around, cupboard doors being open. And I'd go to the kitchen and there was absolutely nothing there. And this happened week after week. To me, it seemed to be night after night. Okay, I want to tell you about the incident that finally stopped it. And I was 12 months into the stay on that ward, as I said, and I remember this night in particular because I'd actually gone up to Henlland Street before coming on duty at night to see my girlfriend, and she'd blown me off. She blew me off, blew me out. Is that anyway? She'd finished with me. Blew me out, I think is the phrase. Not sure what the phrase is, but she'd finished with me, so I was a bit upset on it, but it did make it quite memorable. I came into work and there was an old patient had been admitted, an old minister, all dressed in black, collar the lot, mad as a tree. I'd nursed him once before up in Bringolai, and he used to have fits, and he would get fits basically as his depression got worse and worse and worse. He would get depression. Now, thankfully, he was already in bed because this guy could talk for fun. He could preach, and he would preach. But it's 2 o'clock at night. He comes out of the dormitory area, joy of joy, fully dressed, in the whole kit and caboodle, black suit, black socks, black shoes, beautifully clean shoes, I always remember that, and some sort of collar. And I thought, well, time for a cup of tea, I think. So I go to the kitchen and I put on the kettle for us, and we have a nice cup of tea in the office together, and he tells me what his problem is. He has lost faith in Senokot, and that's why his bowels are in such a dreadful condition. He cannot go to the loo. He's lost his faith in Senokot. So we sat there sipping our tea, and he puts the cup down when he's finished, and he says, "I'm now going to the kitchen," he says, "and I'm going to wrestle with the devil." Fine. Now that's a statement that you could hear off any number of patients. But it turned out to be quite a significant statement for him to make, and he picked his cup up, and he picked mine up as well because I'd finished, and he said, "Oh, I'll go and wash these, I will be back." Off he went to the kitchen, padded across the lounge area with carpet and everything, and I heard him open the kitchen door, and I heard bangings and the rattle of this, that and the other, and calling. He was calling out, and eventually I thought, I've got to go there and do something about this. But by the time I reached the door, he had come out and he was straightening his collar, and he says, "I've wrestled with the devil, I've sent him away, and he won't be making any more noises again." And with that, he walked past me and he went and sat in a chair and probably fell asleep. I was there for another 6 months on that ward, and I never heard another rattle. I never heard any more movements. I never heard any more crockery or cutlery being moved ever again. Coincidence? Well, you're going to have to decide that. The other memory I have, though, of that ward, and it's quite a good one, this. It was connected to male 3, or male 2. Male two, that's it, male two, through the dining areas. The dining areas were side by side, but with a locked door to keep the wards apart. And when the nurse wanted to come through to my ward, they would say, they would phone me up. They'd have to phone me up for me to switch the lights on in the dining room for them to come across. Now, obviously, they would unlock their side, but the light was on my side. They couldn't switch it on because it meant walking in the dark across the dining room. Now, that was quite noisy, because when I would switch the lights on, the floor of the dining room was black, and it was black with cockroaches, and there was thousands of them. There were thousands of cockroaches, and when I switched the lights on, it was as if someone was pulling a carpet across the floor. They'd go whoosh back to where they came from, within the floorboards, within the little holes on the side of the room. I made the mistake once of just walking in the dark through there as I'm standing on cockroaches. Oh, that was horrible. That was worse than anything, really, the cockroaches. Anyway, I thought I'd just tell you that little story, a little bit about, God knows what that hospital's like now for cockroaches. There must be billions of them. They must have taken over the place. Oh. And rats as well. In the subways there used to be rats underneath the subways, and you could hear them scurrying around if you listened carefully enough. And sometimes one or two of them would poke their heads out. That's when it was inhabited by humans, when there was a lot of human activity. God only knows what it's like up there now. Ooh, that is a worrying thought. Anyway, it's St. Valentine's Day, a pleasant day. I hope you've had a nice one. I thought I'd tell you that little story, and as I say, I'm indoors because it's just too cold to be out there. It's bitterly cold. Okay, well, nice to see you, and I'll talk to you again soon, okay? Bye for now.